Hey everyone, it's Mike again, piddling around the yard, and today I'm going to go over 7 tips for spring garden readiness. How do you get your garden ready for spring? Well, stick around. Hey, so tip number 1 is going to be prep your tools. And what do I mean by that? Well, I've got my lawn mowers here. One I use as a lawnmower, one of them I use to pull my trailer around to move stuff around the yard. Get your rakes, shovels, loppers, pruners, anything kind of tool you're going to use. You have a rototiller, you're going to till your garden? Well, make sure your tiller is working. When's the last time you used your tiller? Probably last year. So, the tip number 1 is to prep all your tools. Make sure your stuff is ready. You might have to sharpen things. You might have to do a tune-up on the tiller or on your lawnmowers here. But that's what you got to do. You got to get ready. It's springtime. Everything's coming alive again. So make sure your tools are ready. Hey, so now we're going to go into step number 2. And step number 2 is pruning. So you might have done some pruning at the end of fall, or maybe even over the winter. I've done that, but there might be some last minute pruning that needs to be done. Check this out. My pear tree back here, it's got blooms all over it. But for the past 2 years, probably 3 years, I've needed to prune that thing and I keep forgetting and I never get around to it. So I'm gonna get me a little round to it and get that thing pruned. So that thing needs pruned back just because it's getting out of hand. Some pruning that I have done is with my my grapevines. I did a lot of pruning with my grapevines. I probably need to touch it up. So that needs to be done. I had some blackberry vines back there I pruned. And then those are your fruit and vegetable gardens. But what about these bushes here? These things seriously need pruned. They're getting huge again, and so I'm going to have to prune those down and get those looking nice. They're one of the first bushes that get flowers. I love these flowers in the springtime, but yeah, the pruning needs to be done. So that's tip number 2 for getting your garden ready for the new year, is to get your pruning done. And that includes stuff around your vegetable garden, your fruit trees, even your flower garden. So I come over here and check this out. This is my rose garden over here. And I've done a lot of pruning with the rose bushes, especially these ones on the fence. But I'm probably going to go, as I go around and they're starting to grow and I see what they're doing, I'm probably going to do some more pruning on them just to redirect them to grow where I want them to grow. And that's what pruning is about. You're either going to prune dead, dying branches off, or you're going to redirect where you want things to grow so that it looks the way you want it to look later on in the year. All right, so step number 2 is prune. 1. All right, and then tip number 3 is clean up your garden beds, right? I kind of clean these out and then I prep them for winter. And what I did to prep them for winter, I put some cardboard down and then I covered it with leaves. I have shredded mulched leaves that I was cleaning up from the fall, and I covered up the cardboard in there, and that helps protect the soil in the garden beds. But now spring is going to be ready. I'm going to be planting. I'm not going to plant right through that stuff. I'm going to rake this off, probably going to put all this in my compost bin, and then I can get the beds ready to plant. So that's the thing. Clean up your garden beds, get things ready to go. Another thing is, now I've been doing this for the past few weeks, but they keep coming up. There's weeds growing all around. Now it's because I have to put more wood chip mulch around my beds. As I said before, I cover this whole area with wood chip mulch because that keeps the mud down, especially on a rainy day like today. And then it also helps keep the weeds down. Well, weeds are coming up everywhere. So I pull all these weeds, I throw them in a bucket, and I create my compost tea mixture that I use to fertilize my garden. But so clean up your garden beds, pull your weeds, and get things ready to go. You also have your flower beds, right? You might have weeds growing in your flower beds. Clean those up, get them ready. You want to clean those out and make sure that, you know, they're ready for summer and looking nice. All right, so that's tip number 3, is you just get your garden ready. Clean up those garden beds. All right, I don't know if you can see. I don't know if this is in the video. Check this out. This is my my bathtub raised bed full of onions. Or no, it's garlic. Yes, that's garlic. And it's grown over the winter. It's looking awesome. So just a quick update on the garlic. It's doing really good. All right, now I'm here for tip number 4. And you can probably tell that right behind me is my compost bin. Tip number 4 is check your compost. See if it's ready to go for the season. You want to have compost ready to amend your soil, because that's the thing. Now that you got your garden beds all cleaned out, you need to amend the soil. If you're going to start planting I'll be planting stuff in the garden beds probably in the next 4 weeks. And so I want to get them cleaned up, and I want to start amending the soil over the next couple of weeks. I'll put compost in. I'm probably going to go get some manure. I'm going to put worm compost. There's other trace mineral fertilizers that I'm going to put in there. So those soil amendments, I generally do those at the beginning of the season, and that's about it. During the season, the only time I add any fertilization is if something seems like it needs it, or I use my compost tea that I make, and I'll water the plants with that, and that's all I do. I don't add soil amendments during the season. I put the soil amendments in at the beginning of planting, and that's when I do it. So that's that's the next tip. So get your soil prepared and ready for planting. Right, this is tip number 5, and it is seed starting. You want to get, in order to get your garden going, you want to make sure that you start your seeds. And as you can see, I'm in my seed starting area that's in my shed this year. But I got my grow lights. I have some other lights here I haven't turned on. And I got some others I have to set up. And I haven't even planted everything yet. I have, well over 100 plants ready, or planted, but I still have a lot more that I need to plant over the next week, according to my schedule. So I'll be prepping all that, getting my lights going, but you got to get your seeds started. You want to start them at the right time. And that's why in an earlier video, I talked about the schedule of when you plant things. And so get your seeds started and get them ready. And another thing about seeds, you need to not worry about, you get a packet of seeds, like this one here. Now this is borage, is a flower. It says there's approximate seed count about 60 in this pack. Now I've seen some of the packs, these all cost about $2, and there's 60 in this pack. But in another pack, I saw one had 700 seeds in it. What's the difference between the numbers of seeds? It's just how many seeds a plant might produce and how easy they are to obtain. Celery, they send you 500 seeds in a pack because celery is prolific at producing seeds. So, yeah, it doesn't matter how many seeds are in a pack. I'm not going to use, there's 60 in here. I probably won't use all 60 of them. But that doesn't mean, it says it's packed for 2023, but I can still use these probably over the next 5 years. As long as you maintain your seeds, then they're still good. The germination rate may decline over the years. So let's say that, 90% of seeds will germinate this year, and next year might be 80%, and the year after might be 70%. So like I said, it might decline year over year, so you might have to plant more of them, but the seeds don't go bad in 1 year just because it's for this year. So don't worry about that. Always keep your seeds, and use those extra seeds to plant in other areas, or in case something doesn't work. If some of your seeds don't come up, well, you've got extra seeds left. That's the whole purpose of having way too many seeds. Of course, as a gardener, I don't know what way too many seeds is, but yeah, you want to have your seeds ready to go and make sure they're planted the right time. I've got some that are direct sow in the garden that are going to be going out probably in the next week or so. So I got to get that one garden bed prepped and ready within the next week, because I got to get those seeds in the ground because that's when it says to plant them. So that's the next tip, is to get your seeds ready, get them started, and get excited about the new gardening year. Tip number 6 is getting all of your trellises and structures ready. Whether it's a vegetable garden or flower gardens, you probably have some structures that you need for stuff to grow on. Not everything just grows on the ground. You might need some structure. So, like here, I've got roses that are growing along this fence. Now, I pruned it up for the winter, and I'm probably do a little more pruning, but the thing is, I'll look at this fence and see, is there any repairs needed to the fence? So I can do them now before the roses take over that fence. So that's when you want to do it. Early spring is a good time to look at, oh, do any of the structures need repair? Are you going to put up any new structures? I might have a couple of new things I'm putting up here in the front for flowers. So I'm looking into those. I'm planning, trying to schedule when I might do that. So you want to get those structures ready. But then we go back. I'm going to go back here to my vegetable garden. Ouch. Tripped on that root. If I go back to my vegetable garden, check this out. I got all these tomato cages. Now, I'm not going to use the tomato cages this year. Last year, I used them for my tomatoes. This year, I'm probably going to use them for something else. But I'm going to go through. Are there some, like, there's a couple in there I'm probably going to get rid of because they're so old and broken down and bent up and everything else. But the other ones, I'll find out how many I have. Do I have enough for what I want to do and what I want to use them for? You might also have some stakes, right? I've got a bunch of stakes here. Do I have enough stakes for the plants that are going to need staking? Or do I need to get more? I may need to get more for what I want to do. Do you have any other structures? Like, I've got this fence down here. Along this fence this year, I'm going to be planting all of my cucumbers and melons and squash and stuff like that. They're going to be planted along the fence. They'll grow up on the fence. And I'm doing that specifically because actually last year I planted the cucumbers in this bed right here, which is next to the fence, but it's a good 6 feet from the fence. But guess where those cucumbers went? They went for that fence, and they covered that fence. I mean, those cucumbers just took off out of that bed, went over to the fence, climbed up, covered. I had so many cucumbers, it was ridiculous. I was just throwing them in the woods. For the animals out there, I had so many cucumbers. So that's what you want to get things ready. For my tomato beds, I'm going to be putting my tomatoes right up here this year, and I'm going to be building a new tomato trellising system. And I'll probably do a video on that. But it's a system that I'm borrowing from another guy I follow, Brian, from Next Level Gardening. I'm going to use his system this year. So I'm going to build it right there, and we'll see how that goes. But that's tip number 6, is to get all of your structures, your trellises, everything that you're going to need, get it ready, because garden season's coming. Okay, so we are to the end, the 7th tip for getting your garden going, spring cleaning, whatever you want to call it. Last tip, number 7, is prep your watering system. So this year, finally, I'm going to actually install a watering system. Hey, hi, Diamond. How are you doing? Oh, and there's Rio up the top of the steps. Hi, Rio. But you want to have some sort of watering system. Now, you can use Mother Nature if you'd like, or you can stand out there with a hose and water your garden. Those are all good, but the key to a really good garden, and you learn this by experience, is consistent watering. Plants do very poorly if they aren't consistently watered, if they go dry and then get too much water. And then, so over the years, I have not consistently watered very well. And so I've had poor yields in my garden over the years. Last year, my garden did amazing. One of the reasons was Mother Nature helped out quite a bit. It rained every single week during the garden last year. At least once, sometimes twice. And it didn't rain a lot. It would just rain a little bit, enough to water the garden. So my garden did amazing last year because it got consistently watered, but I was just luck because Mother Nature helped out. So I saw how much better my garden did because of that. So I'm going to install a watering system this year to water all these beds, and water stuff along my fence, even water my strawberry patch over there. But I'm going to try and consistently water, even along way over there by the fence. I've got to water my blueberry and elderberry plants. So I need to run watering system everywhere so that I can consistently water the garden, so that hopefully it continues to do really well like it did last year. That is the plan. So that's tip number 7. So I hope you have enjoyed the video. Use these tips to improve your garden and get your garden ready for this year. If you have, please like, subscribe, tell your friends, and just remember, keep piddling around the yard, and I'll see you next week.